All right, so let's get into our first guest this morning. Oh, did you see the inflation numbers yesterday? Did you see that? Look at us go. 9.1% in June. And Wall Street had figured, it's going to be way less than that. No, Wall Street was wrong, dead wrong. They thought it was going to be about 8.8%. No, 9.1%. And that is a new 4-decade high. Look at us go, breaking records. And everything remaining really ungodly high. You start looking at the prices and the way that they jumped in a 1-month period. Things like groceries, energy, rents, all there. Gasoline, of course, is part of that. Let's talk about it with a political consultant, a commentator, co-founder of the nonprofit media outlet Broad and Liberty. Albert Eisenberg joins us on the Wake Up Call. Albert, how you doing?
Hey, good morning. Wake up.
Yeah, good morning and wake up. Good advice for all of us. Are you well caffeinated?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Every day.
Good deal. This is getting really, really, really hard for the White House to keep trying to spin this. Is anyone other than absolute, partisans really believing any of the spin that's coming from Capitol Hill and the Democrats and President Biden?
Well, it depends on what day you ask them, because first the problem was ignored when everyone from Larry Summers to anybody, right of now said, all this government spending is going to cause inflation. Then it was transitory. I believe they still think it's transitory, and they're excited about a 30-cent drop in gasoline prices to still historic highs. And currently, Joe Manchin and Chuck Schumer are theoretically negotiating more spending on the Build Back Better bill, which the Senate Democrats will not let die. So I don't see any reason to believe that the White House or congressional Democrats are taking this problem seriously at all.
So what do you think is going to affect the midterms more, the midterm elections? The overturning of Roe v. Wade by the Supreme Court, or what we're seeing in terms of inflation and people's spending power essentially being monthly reduced?
Oh, certainly the latter. Most people in America are working people that need to know that their dollar isn't going to go down in value. And just so your listeners understand, if you had $100 last June, it's now worth $91. So regular working people are really feeling the pinch, and that's most voters. On the other hand, the Democratic Party is steered by an elite group of voters who are mostly college-educated and mostly do not say that inflation is going to drive their votes, but rather progressive outlooks on abortion rights and gun control. So the vast majority of Americans, when asked, say that the economy, inflation are the top issues for them, gas prices, and then you look at the Democratic Party and it's guns and abortion, and these are the people leading us, which is why you see such economic mismanagement. But I think certainly this is a generational opportunity for Republicans to reach out and secure the votes of working-class voters of all backgrounds, including Black, Hispanic, and Asian voters, and that's going to put a knife to the Democratic attempts at forming a ruling majority in the next, 10 cycles.
How concerned, you brought up about Hispanic voters. One thing that at least I have read, and maybe you can confirm this or not, is that for whatever reason, it was sort of that so-called common knowledge that Hispanic voters were, leaned towards and favored Democrats, but it's turning out, at least from everything that I've read, that is not the case.
Yes, and almost every poll I've seen, whether it's locally or regionally, and in my home state of Pennsylvania or nationally, the Hispanic voters are now about even on what's called the generic ballot. So you ask somebody whether they'd support the Republican for Congress or the Democrat for Congress, and this is really historic. You haven't seen Republicans getting anywhere close to that since 2004, with the very popular George W. Bush winning somewhere in the 40s of the Hispanic vote. And we're getting close to the high 40s or even winning a majority like Glenn Youngkin did in Virginia, which would really be difficult for Democrats to retain Senate seats in places like Nevada and Arizona, but also means that a number of congressional districts that Democrats drew that they thought would be safe are not going to be safe any longer. And that is a huge, huge opportunity for the Republican Party. Because as you know, the biggest knock on Republicans, the most effective knock on Republicans is that we're all bigots, we're all racist, we're all homophobic. And then you have people like Myra Flores winning in South Texas that can put a lie to that.
One thing that the Republicans have done woefully over the years is really growing what I would refer to as that younger base of voters. Are they just going to, get more younger voters by default, or are they going to be able to put together a cogent message that somehow is going to resonate with the younger voters, other than those guys suck? Look at inflation. This proves it. See? What are they going to do?
I'm glad you asked. It is definitely not sufficient to say that the other side is completely radical and mismanages everything. We have to offer solutions that meet people where they are on the rising costs, on health care, on environmental conservation, and on college debt. And we have to focus specifically on reducing the burden of college debt before people take out loans. So Republicans need to be active, and we need to share a message towards younger voters, working class, people who have not voted Republican ever, and then we will be able to win over more of these people who have, younger people like myself, who have not heard the Republican message except in opposing what the Democrats offer.
Okay, so you brought up college debt. So what are they supposed to do? Are they supposed to, adopt, or if you will, as Bill Clinton used to do, triangulate and essentially say, okay, hey, we're the Republicans and we're going to cancel your college debt. What are they going to have to do anything about that isn't going to be basically, a Democratic idea with a Republican cover page?
Oh, absolutely. I think, canceling debt is a completely ridiculous concept. It just means giving the debt to the taxpayers, which is all of us. I'm not in favor of that. And you're talking to somebody who took out a lot of student debt to make my way through college. I still don't think the government should wave its magic wand and erase that, because that was my decision. I think Republicans need to communicate, especially to working class voters, that they're being asked to subsidize the education of people who are going to do better than them in the long run economically, and we need to hold administrators and administrations feet to the fire. So if I was a Republican on the Education Committee, I would be having hearings when I win the majority and asking administrators to come in and explain the rising cost of college, which is mostly attributable to larger bureaucracies and administrations in colleges and not better outcomes for students.
Can you give me an example?
Sure. Well, I don't have the numbers next to me, but if you look at the cost of higher education versus the cost of everything else over the last 30 or 40 years, it well outpaces the cost of everything else. And that's not because colleges are hiring more professors or giving out more in financial aid and more opportunities. It's because their administrations are bloating and they have do-nothing bureaucrats, and they're asking students to fund it.
We appreciate you joining us on the Wake Up Call this morning. Thank you very much, Albert.
Thank you, sir.
All right, you take care. Albert Eisenberg joining us on the Wake Up Call. He is the co-founder of the nonprofit media outlet Broad and Liberty. He's a commentator, Young Voices co-founder, and so on and so forth. And there you have it.